Welcome, everyone. This is our webinar introduction to Confluence. We're glad that you're joining us. We'll spend about the next hour looking at some of the features of Confluence, starting with just the basics, and then moving into hopefully some pretty dynamic, interactive elements as well. And so you'll see the power of what Confluence can do in your organization. My name is Tony Hartsfield. I am a business consultant here at Expium, and we are a Platinum Solutions partner for Atlassian and their products. When we start dealing with our today's content, we'll start with just simply dealing with what is Confluence and some of the basic structures of it. We'll take a look at some of the basic tools like simple text editing capabilities, and then we'll move into some more of the more dynamic elements as far as the different ways that we can customize reportings. It's also a great content portal for groups, for projects, for departments, and we'll see a couple of examples of how it can be used in Confluence itself. We'll also talk a little bit toward the end about with this really useful tool that has so many customizable options. We'll talk a little bit then about governance, how you might need to organize your structure as you're working with Confluence as well. And then we'll try to reserve some time at the end of the hour for questions. And so there is a Q&A tab in your webinar screen that if you want to enter your questions there, and then we'll take a look at those at the end and see if we can answer some of your questions. So that's a lot of our time together. Why don't we begin by talking about Confluence? Well, simply, maybe you need to ask the most basic question is, what is Confluence and what is it used for? Confluence is Atlassian's product that connects to other Atlassian products. And so typically Jira and Confluence go together. And Confluence is a wiki-style editor tool that really allows you to be a great documentation creation place and storage. It's the great place to share information as a content portal. You can use it as a reporting mechanism for the rest of your organization, even those that aren't necessarily going to be in Jira itself. They might want to see how the projects are going. And so it is very flexible. It is very customizable, again, which is why we need to talk about governance at the end of the time together. But let's first off deal with the structure of it, how it's broken down. If you're familiar with Jira, you know that Jira works in projects, and then inside of projects are issues. Well, a similar concept then works with Confluence. What you have in Confluence then are what they call spaces, and then inside of the spaces you have pages, and this is where your content is mostly held as you're working within them. So that's the basic structure of those. And then the pages can have all kinds of different content as we go in. And so I'm going to show you some of the basic editing ones, and just looking at the basic tools itself. And so I'm going to go into one of our pages here. And this is just a view. I'm not even in edit mode. Just kind of give you an idea about what all you see in a Confluence page, who all has been creating content on the page itself, normal text. It uses headings, and headings are great tools for helping you navigate. You'll notice here is a link that I can use. That can be used for a table of contents. That can be used for sending a direct link to someone else to go directly to this particular page. Basic text editing, you have formatting, colors, bold, etc. You can make bulleted lists. You can do numbered lists. You can do what are called sections, and so you can have layouts where you have text that's sharing space, almost like a table is, where this is basically it's a 2-column layout with the right side being a little bit more narrow than the others, but you can have up to 5 different layouts that you can use, so you can organize your page, maybe help manage your vertical space a little bit better. You also have something called action items or tasks that you can place into your pages. You can assemble someone in your organization, and they will be notified of that particular task, so that they can actually complete it. Once it's completed, it'll be marked off. there's a date that you can, when you want to have the date particularly done. And so there's lots of basic task ones. You can also do basic tables. And so for your basic text editing uses, it's as good as any other basic wiki style editing tool. And so it shouldn't get in your way at all as far as just managing the actual creation of text and managing of text itself too. There are also the ability to be able to comment on your pages. And in the cloud version, which is what I'm sharing with you, and I'm using the cloud premium version, which has a couple of additional tools available to us in Confluence. But for Confluence Cloud is the ability to make comments. And this little symbol here is showing me that there are comments been made throughout this particular document. If I actually click on this highlighted text, I will see that this was done by my colleague Elizabeth, and I can actually see there is a story along with it. You can @symbol, you can actually reply, you can actually use some of the macros, and we'll talk about macros a little bit later too. So you can really get pretty complex even within your commenting, and then once comments are dealt with, they can either be resolved or removed. Or and then turned off. So you can comment with those. Commenting can be done while you're just reading the document, or if you happen to even be in edit mode, you can also, in the cloud version, you can comment that way as well. So great tools there, being able to see comments from there. And what comments can help you do, let me show you the other place where comments are, by the way, and talk about comments more. Comments can also be used to kind of limit the amount of email that you might be getting, so you can declutter your inboxes, really reserve your email for client communications maybe, which is kind of what it was originally designed for. And so this is the other place to comment. So if you want to comment inline, or if you want to comment at the bottom of the page, and I can actually reach out to one of my colleagues here, and then mention what I want him to do, and then he will be flagged, and he can actually respond to that. If he replies, we'll see his reply within my edits as well. Okay, so that's basically the commenting sections and the basic text options that you have within there. I want to do one other interesting element, and this is because it is in a shared location and it's shared with your organization, licensed with your individuals in your organization. There's actually another feature that you can use called simultaneous editing. Imagine you're in a meeting and you're going over a certain document. You could actually allow participants in your meeting, if they have access to the space, to be able to edit this document while it's going on. And so I've opened up a document, and my colleague Ray is going to do the exact same thing. And so I'm going to have it open. I'm now going to switch to edit mode. And when I'm in edit mode, I will see that there's me and there's Ray. So we're both in editing mode. And I also see Ray's edits, and there's his cursor from there. So if I go in here and make my edits, deleting this text. So we can actually see simultaneous editing going on in the changes. And then once it's been done, if I publish, and then if Ray publishes, we'll actually see the basic edits that are going on. So another great tool that's useful. I see that Ray published after me, and so when I upload, I can see what some of the other things are in there. I can also just kind of show you, and this is also good for commenting, if you can do bulleted lists, text, basic things there. So it's a great thing, useful tool. I love the live editing, especially when I'm meeting or collaborating with someone else, discussing the content. We can actually both be editing at the same time. Looking at other editing capabilities then, let's talk about linking. And there are several different ways to link content in a Confluence space page. So first off, the internal content, and there's a couple different ways that it can display. It can display as just as the link, or a feature that's relatively new to to your cloud or to Confluence Cloud is able to put it as a card, and then you also have the ability to preview the document as you're looking at it, or go to that space or wherever you're linking to. So this is a link to another bit of content within this instance of Confluence. There's also links to external, so whether you type the link and change the text, you can also format the text how you want to, and you also have the ability to embed. And that's the third option is to link as an embed. So here is a YouTube video that can be either seen in the context of this Confluence Space page, but you also then have, once you start the video, you would also have the commands to pause, to open it in YouTube, to change the view, screen, etc. So another great way to use the tool without the content needing to be in your instance, you could just link to it. Which is a great tool. And then finally, the common ones as far as mail to links, you need to just simply put in the email address, or you can customize what the text looks like as you're looking at that. And then so linking, so internal smart links, external, including smart links like YouTube, and then your email links are there. As I scroll down the list again farther, let's take a look at what else is available. You can have attachments into your pages, and these then are added actually to your space itself. And so this is an inline attachment that I've just simply text from another space, another place in your Confluence space. Images are easy to input into there and manipulate. And then, oh, it looks like I need to check on this one real quick. Let me see if I can. I'm going to edit that page, and this sometimes happens if I'm logging, if I haven't opened this instance in here the first time. Let me just make sure I edit that. Preview. And can you kind of get a back look at what this looks like, and I'll publish that. And so here are attachments. There are actually a couple of different types of macros that you can have. So this is attachment to a screen, and then, or this is actually a PDF macro that if you have a multi-page PDF, it actually allows you to even view it as if it were a presentation. So you can actually view it like a PDF of a slide deck, perhaps. And so you can look at that way. There's also an actual macro called attachments, which will then sort of list all of the attachments that you have within your particular space, which is a nice reference, especially if you're going to be using for meeting notes or other things like that. We use them for our status reports. We'll add it to the attachment, and then using this macro, it automatically updates when a new attachment has been added to the list. Speaking of macros, and I want to talk, because this is where Confluence starts to really get useful and interactive and making more vibrant content. But I want to sort of de-escalate the fear of the word macro at first. Sometimes macro can be a word that gets very technical. It's just what Atlassian uses the term for tools to help you add dynamics to your pages. And so there's lots of interesting ones, including things like if you want to highlight stuff with the information panel macro, and there's several different options that you can create when you use them. There's something called a status macro, and you can use this for the status of your project and your reporting pages, and we do that a lot. The expand macro is one of our favorites at Expium, and what's really neat about it is that so you can have say for instance a title or a term, and then you can expand to see what the definition is, and if people are already comfortable with that, they don't need to keep viewing it all the time. We use it on our engagement pages, where we use an expand macro at the bottom, and it's used for putting in the scope of the project or this project goals, so that every time our clients and us are meeting on that page, we can always review what it is that we were tasked to do as their client. And so that's a great tool there. There's a macro for creating a table of contents. Remember, if you're using headings like we had in the wiki, the text editing, then you can generate a table of contents to help you navigate to those places quickly. There is also one about all the pages that you might have. It's called Page Tree, and so this is showing me the pages that I have in my space itself and the ability to search for the page. If I had a really complex space with a lot of pages, I could actually search for it using the search bar itself. Where it begins to get interesting, I think, well, this is a lot of fun. It also helps your people stay within the correct places, navigate to the right places. You highlight the right information. You can surface that information as you need to using these macros. But really where it gets very, very useful, especially for those of you that are trying to surface information from Jira to the rest of your community so that they can understand the nature of the project, what's going on. Jira, the macros for Jira and Confluence are great, and we do these a lot. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple here, and then I'm going to actually move to what we do as a standard engagement project, just to show you what it kind of looks like. But so you're seeing here, this is a current state report of how the project is doing, and then this is an issues filter, very simple. So you if you're familiar with querying in Jira, JQL language, you could put in what is the project that you want to see and what's the criteria, whether it's a issue type, assignee status, etc., and you can have that information be displayed as a issue list for you. And the other thing about this is that this is actually dynamic. So this is not just displaying, these are actual links. And so if I were to click on that link, it would take me to that issue in Jira where I could fill out the information. The same would happen is if I was in Jira and create an issue that meets the criteria of this filter, it would automatically populate as well. The other thing you can do, which is kind of interesting, is you can take a link directly from Jira now, and when you paste it onto a page, it understands what the connection is, and it will show you what's called a smart link, and you can embed it as well, just like I did the YouTube video. It embeds the correct information into the page, but it's also linked to Jira that you can interact with. Here is a chart, could be based simply on even on the same criteria as this issue list, but this is a chart that you can manage to show there. So a great tool for allowing people who may not be working in Jira, but because they're part of the licenses of your organization, they can benefit from the reporting information of the progress of your projects. For instance, let me go actually and look at an actual engagement. This is a typical engagement page that we make. It's just another space in our same instance. But when we work with our clients, we typically will create something like this. And this is a lot of elements here that I'm going to kind of walk you through some of them so that you can see. It's very customizable, and you're able to add the content you need to. Sometimes we get the question, should we use Jira for our reporting? And because Jira can with dashboards, etc. But we actually recommend, if you're going to be using Confluence, then that could be your great place for your company-wide communications. And so your project teams are probably going to be working in Jira. They're going to stay in Jira. So their dashboards, their Kanban boards, that's how they're going to manage their work. But for everyone else, this is a great place to do it. One, because you can surface the information, a lot of information on a single page or easily to access. It's very customizable. And because it's a wiki-style editor as well, you have the ability to manage the message, if you will. You can add your additional highlights. You can add your context. You can give the information, so you can help interpret the information that they're seeing as well, along with any visuals that you bring through. And because it updates in real time with Jira, you have the ability to do so. So while your project team is going to be in Jira, most likely, this is where your reports can be made for your C-level, anybody that really needs to see these as you're doing so. And so here, let me kind of show you some of the features that are available to us. Now, if you have the premium version of Jira Cloud, it includes a calendars option. And so this is a calendar that was created. And the calendar can be either a calendar that's based in Confluence, or it can be a calendar that you already have created. So if you have, we're a Google Suite shop here, and so we could actually link to a Google Calendar. If you're an enterprise shop, you could link to an Exchange calendar, Teams, etc. And then you can have that count so that your project team can actually see what people are doing. Are there any events that we need to be aware of? And so this is actually a link to one of our office calendars. Here we're using the attachments macro again, which has just the list of the status reports that we've been doing and the ability for the users to be able to download if they want to. As we move down, now this is just a table, and we have created with this is where that context comes in. So I could just list the issues, but this kind of explains what's going on here. And so this is very common for us in our engagements. We'll put in a status, let us know where we are in that. The summary highlights, are there any challenges going on? And then these are just simply issues that are using labels based upon accomplished, in progress, next steps, and we'll then be able to see that. Again, you'll see the issues. Again, it's live and dynamic, and so it can be refreshed. It's refreshed every time you access the page, but if you've been in the page for a while and you want to see if something's new, you can click refresh from there. Great feature here is that, again, if you're using the premium version of Jira, which includes advanced roadmaps, you're able to embed an advanced roadmap into a Confluence space, which is just awesome for your managers to be able to come in and look at the progress of the project based upon what they see. And again, it's dynamic, and if they need to, they can open it in advanced roadmaps and work on some more. But it's just some great things they can do in here by reviewing, checking on dates, statuses, any scope creep, etc. as you're working on that. And so we love to embed the advanced roadmap into here. Rather than driving the managers to come to Jira, we'll just simply bring it to them in Confluence. We're also using then the deliverable progress, and again, you're using the macro here, so we can highlight the text, and then another table basically. And so we're showing the different types of work. Here is a couple of macros for Jira charts, another Jira issue, and so again, I want you to see how these things work for you and can be very useful, very highlighting. And again, because it's in a wiki-style editor, you have the ability to manage the message for others to see. And then here's that expand macro that I described earlier, where we just simply put what are the statement of work items that we've all agreed to, and that way they always have that available should they need to review that. Obviously, and the ability to comment as needed as well. So this is how we work with our engagements with our clients typically. But let me kind of show you another use, so you can kind of see other possibilities. And so I'm going to switch over to another space, and this is say a marketing department for a company, and so they can put on a homepage that can describe who they are, what we do. But then as you move in further, you can go to the pages here, and I'm going to show you some fun pages that are working here as well. First off is a project dashboard page that might be useful to you as a client. This is actually looking at several different projects, and then you could put a different project on its own page if you want to further delineate. But this is just sort of a summary page, and so it's showing you really quick status of how things are going. This has a few of the other details from that, and so start, end, date, etc. And this is, you notice here, as you see the little cogs wheeling, it is actually connecting to Jira, and it's synchronizing its information, and so we'll see that information there. Again, another advanced roadmap, and I can see how all the projects are working, if we're on schedule, what our timing is like, what are the stories within each epic that these projects are using. And so a very common way to summarize several projects, or you could break it into each project individually as well. And again, just similar setups here as far as how an engagement would be. And so having kind of shown you some of those things, let me just take a brief moment to let you know a little bit more about us at Expium, because this is the kind of stuff that we do. And so as a platinum solution partner for Atlassian, that means that we are in the highest tier of support, and Atlassian oftentimes refers clients to us just because of how we like to serve our clients, potentially you. And so kind of things, let me kind of show you what kind of things that we do, we're able to do. And so I'm going to go back to my original overview page. And this is always, bear with me as I refresh the macro. So the types of things that we do offer, the first solution is training, like what you're attending now. As far as the webinars go, we also do more intense classes. We do what are called boot camps for Jira and for Confluence itself. And so while I'm just kind of showing you a lot of things here, we actually have a one-day Confluence boot camp where you get the chance to come in and actually play with the actual tools and create the content yourself. That follows a 3-day Jira boot camp. And that our next one actually is next week. And so I'll be leading that one next week, along with my colleague Ray, who assisted with the editing together, simultaneous editing. So this is a lot of our portion is the training itself. We also do a lot of consulting. So what typically happens is someone will want to go with Atlassian licensing, and we can actually help with that as well. Help you with your licensing, and as a platinum solution partner, we can actually assist in getting the better rates as possible for your licensing of your products. And then we do a lot of consulting. People will then, once they've acquired the products, the next step is the setup, the use, the best practices, the management of it first. We do a lot of initial setup. We also get calls from companies who have had a setup and now need some assistance in getting it organized or reconfiguring, centralizing, those kinds of things. And so we do a lot for any size company, really. It's as little as an IT department of 20 to an organization that's 40 or 50,000 plus, and an IT department to match. So we do a lot of that. And then we also have a full stack software development company, sister company, called Oasis Digital, and should needs be needed for your integration, for your helping your Atlassian products talk to some of the other products in your instance and your environment. We actually build add-ons and make customized solution tools for you. And so again, a little bit of a commercial about us, but you joined us, and so I wanted to do that. So there are one more link I want to show you over here. Let me see if I can move my toolbar. Can I do it? 2, 3, 4. That do it. Come on. Sorry about this. I've got one more. Let's just go there. One last thing about us, and then I'll move back into looking at the other one more content sharing portal from there. and that is when you go to our homepage, and this may be how you found our webinar in the first place, but we try to list so our services, and then just wanted to show you, so you're at this webinar here. We offer a free webinar every Thursday, so please watch the list for the next ones that are going on, our boot camp. But we have lots of good topics, especially if you're interested in things like, if you're considering governance, service management for your ITSM needs. We talk, if you're looking at scaling in your agile practices, we're doing a lot of that, portfolio management. And then the last one I want to talk, when I talk about governance, I just want to highlight that one too. And that is, we offer a webinar on being able to, how you're going to organize your page. So let me go back to the marketing page. So again, different ways to manage your user's experience. So you have your welcoming page here, which tells them why they're there, what's available, who they are, what services they offer. And then I'm going to move down to a couple of other pages to show you some other things. But this is where meeting notes can be managed, and this is really easy using. There's a great template use for pages. So these are mostly created out of blank pages, but we can also quickly create using the templates that they have. They have great templates within this, and especially in the cloud version, there's just dozens and dozens of templates, depending upon whatever style you would. So decision trees, whatever types of meetings, SWOT analysis are great things that you can do with your with the templates, and this is just a simple one with the meeting ones. And then the last couple of things that I want to talk about here is that it also integrates with other tools. And so I want to show you first off that it can work with things like if you're a Trello user, this can actually connect to a Trello board. And of course I didn't log in, so let me do that. They don't hire me for my typing, people. So if you're using Trello, where it's located, it can actually connect to there. I will tell you, this is one of my colleagues, Vicky. Vicky uses Confluence and Trello to manage her wedding that's coming up next year. And so great tool for, and many of our people here, we organize our own personal lives using Trello boards. Well, so can your project team, or so can your department if you wanted to do that. It also can connect with Miro. Let me see if I have my Miro connection going there. Miro is a great tool that is useful for your storyboarding of your ideas. We use it quite a bit in our initial contacts with clients, so that we can kind of understand what we can kind of visualize what the project is going to be about. So just a couple of great ways to bring in other products into your Confluence instance without having to have it hosted in the actual instance itself. As long as you're connected to it, you can do that. The last thing I want to show you is that it can also link to these are links to our, we have, again, we're a Google shop, and so this is GDrive. And so these are two actual documents, and it actually embeds it into a viewable list instead of just putting a thumbnail that you have to then click and download to view. It actually is in a viewable view in your window. And for those of you that are curious, there are tools that have been added that are in the Atlassian marketplace that can also do this for for your Microsoft solutions. And so if you're in OneDrive or SharePoint, you can also, using a plugin, you can embed content that's stored in those locations as well. So again, they don't have to be attachments. They can just simply be links to other sources wherever you keep your documentation. So it doesn't have to be your document management system. It can just simply be the place where the document information is surfaced within your Confluence space. So we've seen a lot. And so from that, then maybe one of your questions is, if it can do all these things, does it do it automatically? Is there a organize me button that comes with Confluence? And the answer is no. The reality is that if you start with dysfunction, using a tool as customizable as Confluence is, it just simply amplifies it. And so what is really, really important, and this is the thing, despite all the really cool things that this software or any software as a service can do for you, it really does still break down to a people thing. It's how you're going to organize it. And so very good chance that you may be sitting on a whiteboard or on a Miro board and figuring out how you're going to use it before you start to use it. And so you want to think about, well, where is information going to be stored? How is it going to be stored? You want to avoid duplication of content as much as possible. You don't want to make it difficult for people to find. And so how are they going to be able to navigate quickly? Where are you going to put the access to this stuff? And the reality is that there is no single answer. That's why there isn't a simple organize me button or govern this. It really is what your organization, depending upon your environment, your needs of access to information, that's up to your team to figure that out. And so don't worry if you've seen some display stuff here and it's not what you want to organize it with. That's fine. You have the ability to do that. Having said that, some questions that you want to ask is, you want to, first off, what are going to be the standards? How do we standardize this information so that it is a relatively consistent experience across the instance? Or maybe not. Maybe you may permit your HR department to organize their space completely different from how the IT department does, or accounting, et cetera. But that's up to your organization to figure those things out. And then the other thing is, within the space itself, then, who gets to see it, who can edit, et cetera. And so that's a whole level of permissioning. And you can add permissions at the space level, the entire space itself. You get to control who can see it. Or you can do it at the page level. So you can say, okay, you can see the page, but we're not going to let you edit the page. And so it's a read-only option if you wanted to be able to do that. So you have the control over those. So standardization and permissions being the two basic ones. I do want to remind you then, if you want more information about that, we have a couple of our folks here are very, very strong on governance of information, and we'll talk about both Jira and we'll talk about Confluence. We'll talk about some of the other Atlassian tools, but if you'd like further information, if you'd like for your stakeholders to be able to see a presentation on this, the next one is in February, and it's February 3rd. That's a Thursday, again, 11, just like this one is here. So last plug, I'll be done with that, okay? So we've sort of talked about a lot of things. We've talked about the dynamics of being able to edit text, the different ways to make it look better and organized and structured using macros. Then we talked about the Jira integration, great ways to display complex Jira information, and that information remains in Jira. That's the source of truth, as Atlassian likes to call it. And then your reporting can be in Confluence in very dynamic ways with lots of opportunities for you to manage the message for others to see. And so it's a very powerful tool. It's great for documenting your processes, documenting your projects, and reporting on those projects for your community. So that kind of summarizes the presentation time. And so what I'd like to do is see if there are any questions in the Q&A list. And I'm going to open up the Q&A and see what's going on. The question about putting the table of contents on the left-hand side, I'm assuming you're talking about the bar here. That actually is done dynamically. So as you create pages, it just simply adds them. Now you also have the ability under space settings, if you are the creator of the space or if you have the permissions to edit the space afterwards, you have the ability to go into space settings and adjust the arrangement of the pages themselves too, by going into the content tools, and you get to manage the order of the pages themselves. And so if you can redrag, you get to choose those choices as far as how that works. So I hope that answers your question there. Can you export the child pages along with the main pages using export option? Let's see if I go into, so you can export the entire space, and then you have your options as to how to do that. Or you can also export at the page level. I'm trying to think about the ability to. To be honest with you, other than I think it's either the whole space or a single page. I can potentially look that up, and you can reach out to us and we can get back with you on that one. But that's the couple things that I have there. Are there other questions? Common ones that we get, by the way, just to kind of let you know, is are you able to just, maybe your organization hasn't licensed yet with Atlassian, and the question can be, can you, how do you get started with it? How do you try it? And Atlassian's really good about this in the cloud level of being able to try without having to, without any payment information. And so you just simply type try Jira, and they have a great setup here to allow you to create your own setup. Now, the default setup is the free level, which is 10 users and limited functionality as far as from a administration side. But you can bump this up to standard or premium for a 30-day trial and try out this and just test some of these tools. It's a great way to do that. We do it all the time for when we're working on an idea with a client and they just want to test something. Well, we might just do it that way. So that's real common for us. Let me look in the Q&A list again. So how it happens. So here, you want to know how this table of contents on the left-hand side shows up. Well, it happens when you create a page. And when you publish it, it showed up as a new page there. So it really is, it's dynamic. It just, as you create the page, it simply does shows up on the left-hand side. Again, remember from space settings, if I wanted to change how that is ordered then in content tools, reorder pages. If I wanted this to be a subset, so within that one, so it's now there. And when I go back to the so that's how it works. It just simply does it as you create the pages. And if you want to rearrange, so if you go back to space settings, you want to rearrange, you can change the order of how they display as well. So it's not bound by alphabetized. It's really, it's by default, it's by creation date, but you can simply rearrange from the space settings. Another, sometimes I mention things like the notes pages, but I'm going to go into, so creates a new page, but let me just kind of quickly just give you a quick look at what types of templates are available. And again, especially in cloud, there are just so many that are being added now. And so a company that that is using Confluence has often created these, and they will then they've offered them to Atlassian. Atlassian has included them in their in a regular install. You can also find more of these in the Atlassian marketplace that you can find that. So for instance, if I wanted to see disruptive brainstorm, so if I click to use it, it simply creates the page. And so these are all the things that you have in the template itself. Now in the bootcamp, we talk about actually managing templates, customizing them as we need to. And so you even have that ability as well to do that. And then publish. And so there is my brainstorming template. Table of topics, like do you mean like the table of contents, like this one? This is simply a macro. Let me go into. Let me go into edit mode and show you just show you what macro that is. Where did I go? I had a table of contents, linking, attachments, macros. Here it is. So it's just that macro, and you customize how you want it to see. Can we import Excel into a Confluence page? Absolutely. First off, you just simply attach if you want to, or using an available plugin from the marketplace, you can embed. So you can either have any file, really any type of file, either attached to the space, the page in the space in Confluence, or you can embed a link to the file from wherever the location is. And so the demonstration that we had was from our Google Drive, but there is a plugin. I'll just kind of show you how these are found, that could potentially now they're not free, but they are, for your Microsoft Enterprise Shop, this might be the solution for you. But you're also seeing then, here's one for just Excel, but there's also for Microsoft Office. They can be done that way. I will say that built into the space is a macro for let me just go and edit here. There is a macro And you see here, it says it inserts an Excel content into the page. It actually is embedding a thumbnail of the file. If you actually wanted to edit it, what you could do is you actually click it, download, edit, and reapply it. But again, in the marketplace, there is access to the dynamic ones where you can actually leave it in your SharePoint folder, your OneDrive, and simply click to access it and do the editing from there. Are there other questions? I hope this has been useful time for you. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Should you need us again or any follow-up, there is, let me see where I put that. You can communicate back with us at team@expium.com. Let me just actually write that down for you. So this is the address of our project coordinators. And if you want further questions, if you have questions about the possibility of getting assistance with your installation, with getting it installed, with improving, with centralizing, organizing, those are the kinds of things that we are happy to help with. And this is the easiest way to reach out to any of us at Expium. If you have any questions, they can be sent to the experts in the products, and we can reach back to you with those answers. We're happy to do that as best as we can, or even start the discussion of maybe it's time for us to potentially work with you as a client relationship. We'll be happy to do that. Let me see if there's any other questions that we need to have. Well, okay. I'm happy to respect your time as we do so. I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, if you'd like to reach out to us, please come to our website, reach out to our email address. We welcome you to come back to other webinars. In fact, I hope to see you in future webinars. Again, so my name has been Tony Hartsfield. This has been our Confluence webinar. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next time.